Hi everyone, this is Norman Kochniak here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochniak. I've got two esteemed guests. One in the middle there who's smiling from ear to ear is the very fit and buff Adam Hollioake. Yes, he is. He looks. Oh, he just moved his arms to show a bit of flexing. Is that right? There's Adam. Adam's actually very much a esteemed guest. He's a former England cricketer, has captained the country, has been a sensation both in mixed martial arts, boxing, a whole range of things. But it doesn't need to be explained anything further. Adam Hollioake, welcome to Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochniak.
Hey, Norman. How are you, mate?
Good, very good. And we've got the, looks like he's got a stethoscope in his ears here. And there's Chris Vernon, because it's, of course, you all know Chris. He's been on quite a few episodes with an Aussie and a POM talking about India. So, Chris, you are, what time is it there in England at the moment?
It's nearly 3:10. So it's I'm usually would be probably getting in at this sort of time more than getting up at it, but it's been a while, to be fair, of lockdown. I don't think it's been nearly a year since I think we've been allowed out. So there we go. But yeah, so
I know you want to whisper, but you need to speak up a bit more than that. I know that people in the background are probably going to get very angry when they hear you talking, but you've got to speak up. All right?
Sorry, is that better?
I can barely hear you. All right. Thanks, guys. This is brilliant. Now, as you know, within, what is it now? How long is it? It's about another 52 minutes. The Indian series, the India versus England series gets cracking. And we're going to see some amazing cricket, I believe. Pivotal test matches. I mean, Australia-India was huge anyway, but this is probably going to be of another level, I think. And I think the anticipation is quite great, especially in England and certainly in India. And I think Australia's a bit worried as well. I think they're looking like they're on the outer of this World Test Championship. But I can already say that I spoke to a Debashis Sen from Extra Time last night, and he's obviously very much in touch with what's going on with the Indian team. And he made it very clear that India is still going to go with 5 bowlers, which is going to be interesting, whether that's in fact 3 spinners and 2 pacers or what. And Pandya may be deemed to be a batter, not a bowler. So it could mean Pandya could be the 6th bowler for the team. So there's interesting developments there. The batting line looks very steady, though. I think the Indian top 6 will be pretty much as we normally would see it. Chris, have you got any early thoughts?
No, I think I still stick by what we spoke about yesterday. I don't see from what we've seen from the groundsman and from reports coming from India, it seems like it's going to have a bit of grass on the wicket. So I don't see them going with 3 spinners. I think it might be. I don't know if they'll go with 5 bowlers and Pandya. That seems a lot. I think that Pandya sort of fits the Ben Stokes role, that can bowl a few overs if needed, but isn't really going to be the one to, they don't want him bowling 20 overs a day. So I see them going maybe 2 seamers, maybe Sharma, Bumrah, Pandya, and then 2 spinners as well.
Okay, so all right. So you're still seeing more of a pace attack. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I think from what I've sort of heard and researched and listened to, that there's going to be a bit of grass on it, and it suits their strengths.
All right. So
it's quite noisy there, Norman. Sorry.
Sorry. I must apologise. I thought it's been quiet up until now, so it's unusual that it's happened just now. All right.
So
as far as I'm concerned, just quickly. Adam, are you able? I can't hear you talking. Adam, are you there? Because your screen's gone.
I can't hear you talk intently, mate. I haven't been saying anything. But I've been listening to espressos and your hot being made in the background, mate. So it's I can't quite way this series has panned out. I know there's been a lot of talk about the championships but this series doesn't need any hype. There's no need for people to try and build this series up by putting championship points or anything like that, test points. This is just probably the 2 of the best sides in the world. England at the moment, having just come off that series in Sri Lanka. I know Sri Lanka are an inferior side to India at the moment, but having that win on the subcontinent and showing marked improvements on spin from when they last went out to India and got beaten. I just think this is just a good old-fashioned test series. doesn't need any hyping really, which is counterintuitive because that's exactly what I'm doing. But it's fascinating. I'll hold my hands up and say that I'm not normally a cricket fan. I'm more of someone who watches cricket to out of interest of techniques or to keep up with the game and for my position as a coach. But I'll be tuning in this series as a fan, and I find the tactics fascinating. Like, you go to India and you expect, to be hit with spinners. I've never quite understood 3 spinners in an attack. I always feel if 2 spinners aren't going to do it, then what's a third going to do? That's my personal feeling, and I'm not the spokesperson on spin. I couldn't bat against it, so they didn't me. So it's just a fascinating series, and I love it when countries go, sides with such differing conditions as India and England. In England, swing, seam, cold conditions. India, dry. And you go there, you can learn so much off of the locals. There's that saying, isn't there? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. But I always find it fascinating because for me, Indian conditions are alien to me. Watching the way they think about the game and the way they're so forward thinking. So I think the first test match of any series is often a really important for the touring side to try and pick up any particular advances or moving forward with tactics or techniques that you can have. So I think after this first series, we'll get a really good insight as to the way India is going to play it. And it's up to England to try and react.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
That's extremely interesting, Adam, because you've had that experience, and you're now obviously a batting coach with Queensland. You've had experience in a number of countries, and you've got a very good perception of what's going on in India. I really thank you for that thought. To me, I still think that India, well, it's very clear India's going to win this series. I think just about by how much of a struggle that England can put up against India, and that's my main concern, my main interest. Chris, what's your thoughts?
No, I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how India go about with the wickets. I think that historically it's always been the big spinning wickets. And but if you look at the stats in the last few years, it's actually the Indian seamers that seem to be doing the business for them. So, you got Sharma, Bumrah, Shami obviously is injured, which would be a big blow for them. But and Yadav as well, I think, is injured. But yeah, I agree with Adam. I don't think that England will necessarily. I think England will place 3 spinners if they have to, but I think that they'll want to try and bulk the batting up. And I think Moeen Ali will play. I think that the injury to Crawley probably twist their arm with that. I think that Moeen Ali will probably play over Dom Best just to boost the batting, and then they'll probably have to bring, I think, Dan Lawrence in to bat 3, and then put Ollie Pope in the middle order. But if all reports and suggestions are true that India are going to leave a bit more grass on it to play their seamers, I think that has to benefit England. Not because I think England will go out and win a series, but England batters are brought up on seaming wickets that against a new ball with two seamers, and I think that will only be a confidence boost to Sibley and to Burns that they're going to be facing 15, 20 overs of seam up front as opposed to 1 over of seam and then just the spinners for the rest of the day. So.
Interesting, Norman. I want you to make a note of that statement that you said before, where that India is going to win, and you just want to know what the scoreline is going to be. I can sort of resonate with that statement, but I've literally just watched a series where India went 1-0 down in Australia against one of the great Australian fast bowling sides with 3 games to play. Everybody wrote India off, including myself. This game, there was a big thing in the newspaper. Mark Waugh, Michael Clark, Shane Warne, everyone had written India off. India, don't forget, they went 1-0 down. Their best batsman left to go. They had injuries to fast bowlers, Australian conditions. Who's betting on India there?
Mm-hmm.
It's nobody. So
no one. No.
I'm smarter. I may not be as handsome as you, other than to write anyone off in these day and ages, mate, of professional sport. So yes, 100% India starters favourite. I can't remember. India. I think England were the last side to go there and win, and that was a long time ago, and with very different personnel. But and it's going to take a monument. It'll take an India-like performance in Australia for England to actually be competitive in this series. But I love it when people come out with big statements, mate, because they're there for people to hope. They put it all over the headlines tomorrow in the newspapers in India, mate. And then if it goes wrong, I'm going to remind you about it at the end of the series.
Well, you remind me. You remind me. The reality is, you are right. The fact is that Australia, you would argue, were always thinking they were going to win that series, especially after what happened with the first test and what happened with Kohli going. And India probably have a similar mindset, which could be quite damaging, especially if you're looking at the lull after a huge high. This could be a bit of a worry, but I'll wait and see. Chris, thoughts from you?
No, I completely agree with Adam and I. We said on the chat we did yesterday that the biggest mistake India could do is write England off. And look at, I said that point in case being the Australia series, the press, the pundits, even probably Australia completely wrote India off and it bit them on the backside, really. And if you look at the side, it was 2012, I think, last time India lost at home, and it was to England. But India probably aren't as good a side as they were back then, just on personnel. I'm guessing it was, Siraj and Gambhir, and you had Ashwin in terms of seamers and spinners, and batters was probably a stronger person for person, potentially a stronger side. And the England side is, if you look at, they've got one guy in who will churn the runs out. You've got Alistair Cook and Joe Root. You're probably looking at them to do a similar role. And you've got a batter like Kevin Peterson to Ben Stokes, who's going to be your X factor in that middle order, who can change your game quite quickly. And bowling attack wise, England have probably got the same two seamers out there. Broad Anderson and Jofra Archer, who's going to potentially be an X factor. And I think I think if Mo and Ali can bowl well, I think that Jack Leach will probably do a similar job to Monty Panesar. I think that in terms of stats-wise, they're probably quite similar. I think that Monty's probably a better bowler, but I think if Jack Leach bowls well, I think he can have a big impact on the series.
And momentum as well. Momentum's an amazing thing in professional sport. What happens if India lose the first game? England's just been playing more recently in the subcontinent than India. India's been out here within Australian conditions, and England gets off the start. Where does that leave the Indians? Is their home country? What's the nation behind them? Does the nation start falling? So it's interesting. How do they react to that? So there's a lot of moving parts in this. And like I said, I've made a little note of it down here, mate, of that statement. not a case of if, it's just how many. So.
We won't be invited back if England win, that's for sure.
Right. No, look, hang on, guys. I wasn't that damning. A bit overstating the fact. I am a bit of a drama queen, yes, and I do gloat. But I've just noticed that it looks like Washington Sunder's getting a Guernsey for this Test match. He looks like he's going to be brought into the side, which is interesting because that means that they're going to play probably three spinners, I think, if Washington's in the side. It looks as though there's a very good chance that could be the case.
There's a couple of comments that saying, from just reading the comments here on the side, that Axar Patel's been ruled out, which would be a big blow because I think I said yesterday, I see that being another positive for England, picking two, if they do go two spinners, picking two off spinners turning into the right handers, it has to be a benefit. Where did England struggle in Sri Lanka? It was against the left arm spinner, where and Adam will tell you that playing Test cricket in those conditions, turning away from the bat is harder than turning in from the bat a lot of the time. Look at Kevin Peterson, struggled historically massively. Ashwin has done very well against the left-handers turning away. So if Axar Patel has been ruled out, having been penciled into play, which a lot of people suggested he would be, that has to be another positive for England to take going into the Test.
You're getting two English pundits on here today, aren't you, mate? Been called out.
I've been ganged up on. I think it's a word for it.
I think too, I've predicted that India will probably win the series, but if we do more chats, I'm a very much I'll always back my team and always back my country or my Liverpool or whoever it might be, and I'm very reluctant to back against them. So I'm a glass is always half full all the time. So
enormous flying for India there.
Yeah, we need to get him an Indian cap or an Indian jumper.
All right, guys. I'm gonna have to bring a fourth person in there next time. I think this is clearly some sort of like a hoodlum's effort here.
What do you expect?
Oh, what do I expect? Of course. Now, just a moment. Okay, so Aksar is injured. I'm trying to work out how he's injured. I mean, we've lost Crawley from slipping over the bloody floor. Now, what's happened to what's Aksar's injury? Does someone know? I'm
just reading the comments.
How do these guys get injured?
Well, being a coach, I went out of the game from between 2005 or 6 to 2017. One of the first things I noticed when I came back is the amount of extra work that goes on, and that's what you need. That's why the improvements in the game have been so much since when I finished playing. But that also, by having to do more to get at that elite 1 or 2%, definitely opening the opportunity for injury. I think we see a lot more injuries these days, whether that's the workload, the amount, so much fitter and more finer tuned these athletes are. And then also you can actually get injured doing these things. So there's the more you do, it's pretty hard for us to get injured back out. He's sitting in our deck chairs with a beer. So it's, you might get a sore elbow, but other than that, whereas these guys are so fit and so finely, the opportunity for things to happen is so much more.
Well, I'm feeling very fit as I hoe into a chip here. So.
Very good, mate. I like the way, nice the way you got the camera up, mate.
Yeah, all the ketchup down his top and everything in a minute.
Now, we can't be very far away from the toss. Usually a toss is about half an hour before the game starts, where it must be getting very close. They're saying it's Josh Butler's 50th test. It's Joe Root's 100th, as you know, and likes of Graham Thorpe has given him the hat, the so-called honorary 100th cap, which is a great moment. I didn't realise Josh Butler had played 50 tests. That sort of crept on me. What do you think, Chris?
No, as I said, I think England have got quite an exciting side, and it's a tricky one because there's not a lot of sort of Asian subcontinent experience. But at the same time, if you look at guys who have actually played in India, you've got Butler, Archer, Stokes. They've played a lot of IPL cricket, and at least they've played a lot of cricket on those pitches. And you've got Broad, Anderson. There's a lot of experience there that will know how to play on those wickets. I know it's a different game, of course it is, but at the same time, 100 tests, 50 tests, it's big milestones for these guys, and there's a lot of pride in that England dressing room. And as Adam and we've touched on, to write these guys off, and I think that they're going in there looking at it as we're expected to lose 4-0. What can we lose? It's one of those things that you go to a tour of India and it's brilliant because no one's expecting you to win. And if they can go out, even if winning the toss and bat, if we can be 1 down at lunch, 50 for 1 or 60 for 0, all of a sudden those little doubts or the massive weight of pressure on those Indian shoulders, especially with Kohli coming back in as captain when there's been talk that maybe Rahane should have kept it, especially when, why has Siraj not been picked or Natarajan not been picked, or why have you gone back to these guys who have played tests? Why haven't we stuck with the winning formula from Australia? And there's going to be pressure there, and I think that no crowds as well will help England. I think that Adam's played in front of the 100,000, 80,000 fans in India. That the atmosphere there that must create must be huge as a home fan. So I'm quietly optimistic that England might.
I don't think you're quietly optimistic at all. I think you're a raging bull with
optimism. No, I've not sat here once in never shows and said that I think England will win, but I think that England are being written off to being whipping boys in the series, and it might be the case. We might get stuffed, and that's all it can be. But I hope that we can put up a fight, and I think that we might.
It's a good point that Chris makes. A really valid point actually when he talks about the IPL. I think we get caught up a little bit, and I think we've started seeing in recent years, maybe not so with India. India is a fortress at the moment, but we've seen sides winning overseas where that didn't happen a lot back in the day. But I think that players playing in the IPL, he's pointed out it's a different game, but a lot of when you tour other countries, whether that be T20, Test match, one-day internationals, fighting, or rugby or whatever, a lot of it is to do with just big surroundings. The Indian culture is very different, very busy, very loud crowds, all these things. And just okay, the tactics, of course, are totally separate to that. But I think just being familiar with those is a little bit of a help. So that said, going to India and defeating India is going to India. It's probably if it's not the hardest thing in cricket. I challenge you to name me something that's harder than going to India and winning. So it's a big ask.
Just quickly on Axar Patel, it looks like it's a knee injury, and they've brought in 2 players. Now, I'm just confused why there's 2 players coming in for one. Shabaz Nadeem and Rahul Chahar seem to be the 2 that are brought in. I don't know a lot about those 2.
I think I think Chahar. I've seen him in the IPL. I don't want to put my neck on line. He's definitely a bowler. I'm sure of that. I think he's a spinner, but only because I don't think that they've got Siraj, they've got Natarajan, they've obviously got a lot of bowling. So I'm guessing that they've just bolstered the spin department there. But I'm actually really keen just to see what the wicket is and see what if all reports are that they're going to leave a bit more grass on it, and I think that's why India haven't announced their side so early like they did in Australia. Because they've got more people to pick from. I think it's really easy in Australia when you've basically got 12 people to pick from. With injuries, it's easy to pick a side because it's really obvious what it's going to be. But I think that if they'd announced their side 3 or 4 days out, it tells England what the pitch is going to be, and I think that's why they've left it quite close to their chest. I know that England probably has seen the wicket yesterday, but I think they would have left it as long as possible, just so they don't give England any ideas what they're going to do. If they announced their side 4 days ago and there's 3 spinners in it, it tells England exactly what it's going to be. So I think that there's a little bit of maybe India weren't 100% sure what they were going to do, and they weren't sure what the groundsman was going to be, what was going to produce. So just interesting on that front. But I'm intrigued just to see what the wicket is, and I think that if it's a green, if there's a bit of grass on it, then I think that plays into our hands a little bit.
Go ahead.
It's interesting, isn't it? Me, as an outsider or a guy who's captained sides in the past, I think what you try and do is you look at the wicket and you look at the strengths of your side and you try and prepare a wicket to suit your side. That's generally what happens. With India at the moment, they're fantastic, and they have great seam bowling and great spin bowling. But I think another tactic to be considered is what are the opposition? What can they hurt us with? I was fortunate enough to be on the England Lions coach when we toured the West Indies with Leach and Beth. And as good a bowlers as they are, I don't think the Indian players will be laying up at night. What about them? Whereas I think the main thing for them would be if Broad, Archer on a wicket that does a bit. That's probably the area where they'd feel that's England's got the best chance. So it's curious and interesting. I'm not saying curious in a condescending way. It's an interesting decision if they decide to leave grass on it, because I feel that that's probably England's best chance of making a dent in the Indian batting lineup.
It's also, I've literally just been sat here thinking that if they have picked Washington Sundar, it strikes me as quite a defensive pick, because they've got the Kuldeep Yadav, who's played more Test cricket, who's an attacking wrist spinner. If you're going to pick 2 spinners, would you not want to go with the X Factor Yadav? It seems to me that Washington Sundar, they're probably thinking he'll tie up an end, we can attack with Ashwin and we can rotate the seamers at the other end. I think that Yadav they see as a guy that if it was going to be a big spinner, I think they would pick Yadav because he can bowl sides out. Whereas if they are going to be, if they are going to rotate the seamers and go, I'm guessing that they see Sundar as, can he get 20 overs, 1 for 50 out of him? That's job done because we can rotate the other end. So if it is going to be a flatter wicket with a bit more seamer-friendly grass on it, then Yadav is a guy that might go at 4 or 5 and over, and I don't think they'll want that. So
the other interesting point will be if there is grass on the wicket, like there might be, does that mean
Sorry, you cut out there. I didn't hear what you said.
I think if India have left more grass on the wicket, which suggests that they might try and play into this. Does that mean if India wins the toss, are they going to bowl? Which is, that's another interesting. That's traditionally what you do if you leave more grass on the wicket and you try and bowl.
So I've just had England won the toss and then batting, and we got I think we got the side pretty spot on. So it's Sibley, Burns, Lawrence at 3, Root 4, Stokes 5, Ollie Pope at 6, Josh Butler 7, Dom Bess 8, Archer 9, Leach 10, Anderson 11. So they've left Moeen Ali out and gone with the extra batter. So we spoke yesterday, and it was who do they bat 3, and they wouldn't pick 3 spinners, and I think that they'll want to play Moeen Ali, but they've gone with Dom Bess, who's done pretty well in the top Test match leading up to it. So and Moeen Ali's not played a lot of cricket, but it's good to see that they're sticking with him. I would have personally maybe gone with Moeen just for that experience in the batting, but it depends. If they weren't going to pick Lawrence to bat 3, then I think they'd have gone Moeen. But no, interesting, and they've gone with Anderson over Broad.
So actually, you were pretty much spot on. Moeen Ali's the only one I'm a bit disappointed about. I would have liked to see him in there, but
tricky because he hasn't played a lot of cricket. I think they would have probably played him in a Test match in Sri Lanka, especially on the wickets that spun more. But he got dropped. And Adam would tell you that he basically declined to be picked. I think that he was dropped, but in the summer, I think England probably would have picked him. But he said, I'm mentally not in the right frame of mind to be playing cricket for England. And Bess has done quite well, and it's good to see them sticking with him. Big toss. I think that's a big toss for England to win. Positive to bat. Obviously, they're going to bat, but if they can go in and be anywhere near none, even if they were 30 for naught at lunch, I think that's a good positive start for them there.
So, okay, let's go through that side one more time, please, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Go through the batting line.
So Burns and Sibley. So left hand, right hand. Lawrence at 3, Root at 4, Stokes 5, Pope 6, Butler 7, Bess 8, Archer, Leach, and Anderson. So, we got it pretty spot on with it would be Broad or Anderson, and I think they'll play 2 tests each, unless something goes really wrong, where there's an injury, or you turn up in Ahmedabad and it's been raining and it's a green top, but that's not going to happen.
So, Chris, are you saying there's going to be an alternative? Anderson, Broad, Broad? Is that the way? Yeah.
Or Anderson will play the first 2 and Broad will play the second 2. I see them playing 2 each. I mean, Adam, what do you think on that?
That probably sounds about correct. Injuries aside, often the heart out there. Might go. I think 2 each sounds right. Well, 1-1-1. I'm not sure, but yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm not really sure. It's an interesting one.
What about the Indian side? Are we hearing? I can't see anything being stated about the Indian side.
It's not on telly here yet. They've it's been actually quite a big news story in England. There's someone in the comments has just put up the side: Sharma, Gill, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Pant, Sundar, Ashwin, Sharma, Bumrah. So as we got, I'm going to blow my own trumpet here, but I think I've got the side pretty much spot on. It was Axar, Patel, or Sundar, but I didn't, think that they went with the seamer, 3 seamers and 2 spinners. So.
Okay, go through that again slowly. Go through it again. You got obviously Sharma, Gill,
Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Pant, Sundar, Ashwin, Sharma, Bumrah. So they picked 4 bowlers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pick 4 bowlers by the looks of it. I'm just trying to work the side out.
You left a player out there, I think. Bumrah.
1, 2. Yeah, I think they're a player light there. So
they maybe get one.
I'm just looking at the comments in the chat. That's all. So I don't know for sure, but I was just seeing what they're saying.
I think I got word from they'd heard what you said before predictions, mate, and said that they're deciding to play 10. They're going to take 10 men.
No, I'm happy to pick their side if they want. I'd be leaving a few of those blokes out, but
typical bloody Englishman thinking they're going to pick 10 players. Typical.
Well, I think it gives England more of a chance, doesn't it? So
It's only fair.
It's actually annoying. As I said, it's been quite a big, and I don't know how much you followed it. And Adam will probably be more interested in it than Norman. But it's on Channel 4. The Test match. It's on free view television.
The first time, 15 years.
2005 Ashes was the last time that it was on Channel 4, a live Test series. 2005 Ashes.
So what's the reason behind it? I'm still not sure. What's the reason for that?
Just because of the rights, I think it seems that Channel 4 there's been a bidding war. It was only confirmed about 3 days ago. There was talk that the host broadcaster, a Hotstar in India, I think it is, and they've got connections to Disney. So there was actually talk for a while that the cricket series could have been shown on the Disney Channel here, which is just crazy.
So were they going to wear Mickey Mouse hats or something? Is that what?
Well, I don't know, but I think because they have connections to Hotstar, the broadcaster. But it's quite a big coup that Sky or BT Sport haven't got the rights, and that it's on free-to-air telly. And I think that's a massively positive thing for this country. I mean, Adam would have been in England at the time of the 2005 Ashes, and what a massive! It was a cricket crazy that summer, and I was only sort of in my early teens, but everyone was talking cricket. And I mean, look at the side we had, and we took on probably the best Test side that there ever was that year, and we beat them, and it was huge for cricket in this country.
Yeah, it is huge. I mean, when I was growing up over in England, there was the cricket BBC, or it was always on terrestrial TV. So then I remember the uproar, and probably the after effect of it was a lot of loss of the interest in it. So in England, it is a huge thing for this series to be on terrestrial TV. And obviously it's not England versus, one of the lesser sides. It's, probably the most entertaining and most followed side in the world. So it's a huge, huge event. I expect I'll be really interested to see the viewing figures on that when they come. It'll be enormous.
It looks like that Shahbaz Nadeem is playing, and I don't know much about him at all. I'm guessing he might be a spinner, because I would have thought that if you've got Seema, you'd be playing Siraj or Natarajan. So it looks like India might have gone with 3 spinners, which is interesting. But
it's staggering. They've picked a man out of the woods, so to speak. I'm sorry, I don't think we've heard anything about this particular Nadeem before the game. Obviously, the injury, which we've just heard to Akshar Patel, has created this. But you would have thought there are other bowlers in that, like Kuldeep Yadav. Is he starting? Is he in that lineup? No, he's not in that lineup. He must be shaking his head, the poor guy. Seriously. I
think that maybe it's as we said, it's a tactic, and I think if you are going to pick 3 spinners, and he might have played as the X Factor guy, but I think that's maybe it's a Kohli. There's a couple of comments here saying that Kohli's gone with his RCB teammate. I don't see that being the case, but no. I mean, it's certainly a left field option, isn't it? I think he might be a left arm spinner, if I remember rightly from the IPL, but I could be completely wrong there. So,
well, and any of the discussion that I've heard from the likes of Buri Majunda, Debashis Sen, the people who really are on the inside, they hear things almost directly from the players. There was no mention of him. So the Akshar Patel knee injury must have been kept very quiet to the very last minute. In fact, Akshar himself must have kept quiet on it, because this is a bit of a shock to me. In fact, I'm getting a phone call from Debashis Sen right now. I'll see what he's got to say. All right, that's a great roundup, guys. We've worked out the toss has gone England's way.
Big toss.
Huge toss. Adam's going quickly over there. He's going to be batting middle order. But is that right? You're going to be heading over there. Is that right?
Mate, if I get caught up, we're in all sorts of trouble. It will be like, as you said,
it's just massive. This series, I think, and we've touched on it a few times. I think that how our spinners bowl, but to have Burns, Sibley, and Lawrence as that top 3, I mean, it's a baptism of fire for them. I don't think they've got one Test match in India between them. So the pressure is going to be on Root and Stokes to score the runs and to win us a series. But if these guys can find some form and to just grind and put, I don't think England will be fussed if we bat 2.5 days and get 500. I don't think they'll care. I think that they want to bat once in India, and I think if you can bat even 150 overs in that heat and get 400, I think they'd snap your hand off. End of the day, if we were 200 for 3, they'd take your hand right now. I think so. I don't think that it's all the pressure at all.
Well, the reality is, it's all on England's. They've got the opportunity here now. They're batting first. They've won the toss. They've got Sibley and Birds in there with Lawrence. it's up. Those three are really the key. If they've got to go well, they can't be 3 down before lunch. That won't work. I'm afraid. If this first session is even more crucial now, and I'm quite impressed by the way that it's turned out. And I'm very keen to see Shabazz Nadeem. He sounds like he's. I'm sorry, I know. It's going to be very intriguing for me because he's in the side. And again, Coley must be scratching his head a little bit, wondering how he didn't get selected. We talked about before teams toss. Well, teams we just know now. Toss we know, and the tantrum is probably Coley Viatov in the back rooms now. Is probably kicking a few chairs and a few stones. I would argue
the tantrum. You defending, calling us out for being positive about England's chances, Norman. I think that's what the tantrum is. Yeah. No, it's. I think that it's.
Is that right?
I think that there's big confidence from Root showing, and I know that he was always going to bat. I think that you can't win the toss in Indian bowl very often. I think there'd have to be some weird circumstance to do that, but it's good faith in the guys at the top. He's saying, you've not played one test in India. You've been struggling for form. Burns hasn't played cricket for 6 months, but we're going to bat first and we're going to take you on. And I think that's just a good positive step from Root. He could easily have bowled. He could easily have said, we'll give it to Jimmy and Archer. Let's try and rattle them. But fair play. You're going to back your batters and let's go out and do a job.
Well, this is exciting. I can't wait to watch it, actually. I'm very eager to find out. All right, guys. I think we've had a great session there. I think we've covered it very well. The teams. Okay, I'll give you the opportunity, Chris, to just rattle off one more time for the viewers. Some that may not have rattle off the teams. Go through the teams. I'll go through the Indian side if you like.
Yeah,
Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill. Yep, Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Hunt. Very, very established 6. Then Washington Sundar, obviously Ashwin. And you go into this new fellow, Shabazz Nadeem, and you move into Ishan Sharma and Jasprit Bumrah. It's a great side. England side, go for it.
Sibley, Burns, Lawrence at 3, which was possibly predicted, but still a bit of a shame with Crawley out. But a great chance for him. Root 4, Stokes 5, Pope 6, Butler 7, Bess 8, Archer, Leach, and Anderson. So hopefully we won't be seeing Jimmy running in until maybe just this time, 2 days' time. There we go. Saturday morning or Sunday morning. There we go. Jimmy can be running in England. 550 for 8 declared.
Jesus.
I think that we might put some runs on the board this first innings. I think we might put some pressure on. Root's in the form of his life. Wow. Stokes has got a point to prove. Pope's back in. Butler's in good form, is averaging nearly 70 in his last 10 tests, I think. So, it's as good a chance as they're going to have on a new wicket. I think that batting first is massive. So,
okay, you're beating a chest, fair enough. You're probably going to have bruises on your chest now, Chris.
I'm positive. Quickly, come on, England.
So, okay, England's won the toss. They're batting. What a great start. Okay, I want to finish this discussion, guys, on scores at the end of the day. Quickly, Adam.
I'm going to say England will be 230 for 5. It's going to be a slow day, I think. That's going to be a slow day. I'm going to say 230 for 5.
Chris, 700 for 1 or something?
No, I think no one wants to do something at lunch. I think we'll be 64 for 1 at lunch, and I'm with Adam. I think that it will be. I think that Chris Silverwood has sort of brought in this. It's all about first innings runs and grinding out a score. So yeah, I'm going to go 265 for 4.
I'm going England 7 for 101 by T.
At T.
Wow.
There's 701. Then they recovered. It'll be all out for 180 close of play.
Okay. I'm looking forward to having my smug face on at you later this evening.
Had a bet at the end of the day, or they get bowled out. England get bowled out in the last over.
I think so.
I think if England can, I think the exciting thing for England is if that top 3 can set a base. They've got some really positive cricketers in that middle order that can potentially take the game to India. You've got Root, Stokes, Butler, Pope. That's a pretty exciting sort of 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we can get a solid base and And that might be why they didn't want to pick Kuldeep, because they've got some really positive, good players of spin in there that might take the game away from them a little bit.
All right, guys, that's great. I think we're now some 14 minutes before the start of play. We'll let these lovely viewers go and have a coffee and a chai tea or something, and I'm going to have the rest of my chips. So thanks, Adam. Thanks, Chris. You've been fantastic. This is honestly the most insightful discussion. I really enjoyed this. Not as much as my chips, but that's another thing. So, all right, guys, thanks for your time. We'll talk to each other very soon again. We'll see how we go. Again, this is Norman Koshnik, Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnik here, but virtually live, 15 minutes before the game. How great is that? Thanks, guys. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Chris.
Cheers,
see you,
guys.
viewers. Talk
Cheers,
soon.
Adam.
Ciao, ciao. End of the day play. Don't forget we've got that as well. All right, ciao.